Good morning, and welcome to the 9th edition of Conversational Chaos, the intelligent ramblings between Jason and the Rage Monster. Technically, I would say, Jason, that this is actually our 10th edition if you include the Thanksgiving special, but it's only the 9th numbered one.
Yeah, you confused us a while back by wanting to call it the special edition. But I guess it was special.
It was special. Well, so was our Christmas one, but...
But that wasn't a special.
Oh, we got some feedback, kind of jumping in with both feet, but...
Super excited, let's hear it.
We got a little bit of feedback on the Christmas episode. I had some correspondence with a listener who had scolded us very slightly for not mentioning Home Alone as a Christmas movie. I don't know how we...
Do we miss that one?
Apparently we did. I don't know how we missed that one. I mean, we were talking about Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. For some reason, we left out Home Alone. So I thought I should mention that. I think that was pretty important to be put onto the Christmas movie list. And so we here at Conversational Chaos are giving a nod right now to Home Alone as being a Christmas movie and one of the greatest of all time. And thank you, Beth F., for writing and letting us know that we left that one off our list.
See, but you just opened up the door because I know there's a lot of Christmas movies.
There is, but that one's pretty prolific. I mean, everybody knows that one.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Do
you count Home Alone 2 in there too?
Lost in New York. Actually, Donald Trump's in that one. Of all people. No, not really. I mean, I guess the answer would probably be yes, because it still takes place over Christmas, but it's not as iconic as Home Alone.
Right. Oh, the other one that I couldn't think of was Prep and Landing. The one with the elves that go into the house before Santa to prepare it.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that,
called.
but yeah. No, I've never seen that one.
It's a small one. That's good, though.
No more Christmas movies. We're past Christmas season now.
All right, next.
Yeah, next. So I know you had a couple of topics ready for this morning. What do we have going on from the random topic generator?
Well, this one's not so random. It's not from the generator.
Okay.
But I just thought it was fun. So the other day, my daughter was asking me questions about Disney princesses. So I asked you the question of, she was asking me how many we were trying to name them in the car ride. So I thought it would be fun to ask you how many could you name, and if you could come up with some kind of trivia for each one. So I thought I would do pretty well, since she likes to watch them so much, but I didn't do as well as I thought. So I'm curious.
How well did I do?
So let's see, you had 14, and I had 12. I think we have the same movies. I just couldn't remember two of the princess names. Sleeping Beauty. That was a hard one. I could not think of her name. You just pulled that name out of your head?
Yes. It's because when I was talking with the intern about it, I knew it was an A name, so I just kept saying A words. And I said the word arugula. I said the word arugula, and for some reason that just kind of stuck in there, and I guess that's something like that. And I was like, it's Aurora!
Yeah, I would never have gotten that. I don't know why. Does they say it in the movie?
Yeah.
Do they?
Honestly, I really don't know. I've never sat and watched with my girls Sleeping Beauty. Even if I had, it would have been years ago.
Let's see. So, trivia questions.
I wouldn't really call them trivia questions. It was just trivial information about each princess, yes, but I wouldn't call it trivia.
When I asked you what was a Disney princess, we got into a somewhat heated discussion of what constitutes a princess.
I wouldn't call that heated.
So, it was warm. How's that?
Yes, it was a lukewarm room temperature.
You didn't know any of the criteria that I had heard for Disney princesses.
No. Absolutely no idea.
Have you seen Moana, the
yes.
movie? So in there, Maui says you're a princess because you're going on an adventure and you have an animal that talks to you and you're the king's daughter. So that makes her a princess. She argues that that's not the case. But then in Wreck-It Ralph 2...
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah. I can't remember the girl's name in it.
Schweetz.
I don't think that's correct.
It's something like that. I don't know.
She walks into a room full of Disney princesses and they ask her a bunch of questions and what makes a princess. But you didn't remember the first one. You hadn't seen the second one. So then it just turned into what characters do you see if you go to Disney World and they have their princess parade, but they don't have all the princesses there either. So the whole question is kind of vague. But anyways, so I'm just going to give you some questions and see if you can pull them again.
Okay.
I just know the sidekick. That's all I wrote down.
For
who?
who?
The movies. For the princesses.
Because every princess has a sidekick.
That's right.
Okay.
So you have, first on your list is Jasmine from Aladdin.
Tiger.
Yeah, the tiger. You don't have to know the name. That's close enough.
No, it's
I'll never get
it's
the
a
name.
tiger.
All right, we'll go to the next one. Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
That's Chip, the teacup.
I put the candlestick.
I guess really
there's really no animal in that one.
Well, the footstool, that's the dog.
Yeah, that's not her sidekick.
But I think she talks to Chip more than she talks to any of the other animated objects. I mean, I don't even know how to describe that, but I think she talks to Chip more often. So I would say Chip.
That's acceptable. You have Merida from Brave.
Yeah, not a clue.
I think it's a bear. Well, her parents turn into a bear.
Honestly, I've never seen the movie. I've seen literally about 10 minutes of the movie right in the very beginning.
Like based in Scotland.
I know.
That's your homeland, isn't it?
I know,
You said that the last time.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It is. It's awful.
You should go back and watch it.
I should.
It's different. That's a Pixar one, though, so I don't know if that one really counts.
I don't think the girls really liked that. Well, Pixar is owned by Disney.
Yeah, but it's
not a Walt Disney production.
Yeah. Although I think they count her as one, just because they needed a Scottish princess.
Yeah. Got to have a red-haired one in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's true. All right, next one is Cinderella.
Cinderella, you can go a lot of different routes. She's got the mice.
That's what I picked.
She's got the birds.
Yeah.
I guess that would be it. Cinderella would be the mice and the birds. I don't think there's any other creatures that come into her to help her out. It's just the birds and the mice, right?
I think so.
Okay. So we'll say birds and mice.
Let's see, the next one is Elsa from Frozen and Anna from Frozen. I think they have the same friend.
Well, Elsa, I don't think has a sidekick, but Anna would obviously have the snowman.
Well, Elsa's the one that made the snowman. Olaf.
Yeah, Olaf.
Yeah.
Olaf the snowman. I can't remember that. Olaf the snowman.
Yeah. All right. Next one is Ariel from Little Mermaid.
That's Sebastian. No, it's the fish. It's the yellow and blue fish. And that
nobody remembers the fish, though.
Yeah, but that's really her sidekick.
Is
it's the fish.
I thought it would be the crab.
No, it's not Sebastian, the crab. It's the fish. And the fish's name is Flounder. Flounder's
That's
fish
right.
name.
Yeah.
That's right. Because she says, because she says to him, Flounder, don't be a guppy. And he's like, I'm no guppy. Yeah. Flounder. That's her sidekick.
All right. Next one is Moana.
That's that weird, chicken.
Rooster.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
I like that movie.
Okay.
Mulan. Oh, wait. Yeah. Mulan is the next one.
Doesn't she have a dragon or some kind of tiger or something?
I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't think I've seen
again.
all of
That's
one.
another movie I've seen 10 minutes of, and that's it.
I'm not sure she's considered a princess, though.
I bet you she is.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. I bet you if you went to
there's probably some official list.
I bet you there is. Yeah, there's probably a dedicated website to just Disney princesses.
Oh, I bet there is.
And they probably list the princesses, the quote unquote sub princesses, the ones who aren't actually princesses but are still the main characters. I bet you there's a website solely dedicated just to that because people are crazy about that kind of stuff.
People need a hobby.
I know. It's just that kind of stuff. It's just people just go nuts over it sometimes. I'm not alienating anyone right now. Whatever your thing is, I'm happy for you.
Let's see, Pocahontas.
She had a sidekick that was it was a pig. Was it a pig?
I thought it was like a raccoon.
It was a little four-legged creature. I know that, but I don't know what. So again, a movie that I haven't seen and I don't even know how long.
Do you include arms as legs?
What? Arms are arms. So you can't include arms as legs, man.
You said four-legged creature most. Do you consider a monkey to have four?
No, a monkey does not have four legs. A monkey has 2 arms and 2 legs.
So pretty much, is there any other animal that has arms? What about a kangaroo?
Kangaroo's got arms.
Arms?
Yeah.
I don't like kangaroos.
Let's see. Little T-Rex arms.
Yeah. Let's see. Tiana from The Princess and the Frog.
And that one I only know anecdotally. I've never even seen it. I've heard the girls talk about it.
I'm assuming it's a frog.
I would assume, yeah.
There's probably something else, though. Let's see. Aurora from Sleeping Beauty.
Not a clue.
I think that's more birds. Is it the same birds from Cinderella?
Yeah.
They're probably cousins.
I bet you they are. I bet you it's like the Disney cinematic universe.
Yeah.
They're all related. All that stuff it's creepy how they, in modern era movies anyway, there's so many things that link to other Disney movies. It's like, if you read Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, every
Yes.
book references other Stephen King books that aren't in the series.
Yeah.
Same thing with Disney movies. You watch a Disney movie, and it's referencing things from other Disney movies that aren't technically related.
Can you give me an example?
In Frozen,
Yeah.
Rapunzel
Yeah.
and Flynn Rider are at their wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. It's when people are just getting not the wedding, coronation. People are just getting to go into the castle when they open the gates.
Yeah.
She's there. Rapunzel's there with Flynn Rider walking in.
Oh, didn't know that.
And I guess one of the like really bizarre like backstory things is that Anna and Elsa's parents die in a shipwreck.
Right.
Supposedly, I think they were going to Rapunzel and Flynn Rider's wedding.
Oh,
I think that's like a supposed backstory.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean they don't talk about that in the movies. It's like weird fan theory stuff, but
Yeah.
they always have little weird connections in there. So which one were we on?
That was Sleeping Beauty.
Okay, Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, no idea.
So then Snow White from Snow White. Is that really her name?
Yes,
Okay.
Snow White.
I mean, you hear Sleeping Beauty. People just call her Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, it's Snow White.
What's her animal?
She had a whole bunch of them. I don't think
Yeah.
she had anything specific, but could you really consider the 7 dwarves as her sidekicks?
I don't know.
They're kind of animals, aren't they? Like gnomes?
We wouldn't call a gnome an animal. We would call fairies an animal.
I guess that's true.
Animals are their own thing.
They are. Okay, they're their own thing. So I would go as far as to say that 7 dwarves were her sidekicks in that one.
I had the birds still. I think the same birds, right?
I don't know. Well, they would be the first because Snow White was the first
Oh,
Disney
that's right.
movie.
Yeah.
The first full-length Disney feature film was Snow White.
So I wonder if the deer in Snow White was Bambi.
Whoa. Fan theory. I gotta look that one up.
It's like the Pixar movies, too. They all do that.
Yeah.
And then the last one you had was Rapunzel from Tangled.
And hers was the little gecko.
I don't know that
He
one.
was a chameleon, and his name was Pascal. It's Pascal. That's
That
what it
sounds
was.
right.
Yeah.
The only other one I had, I missed one of the ones you had, was Sophia from the cartoon. Sophia the First, since she's a princess.
Oh my gosh, she totally is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophia the First, and she has the rabbit
Yes.
as her sidekick, and the rabbit's name is I don't remember.
I don't either.
No, the girls used to watch that show. They haven't in a couple of years now, probably, but they used to watch it.
It's
a
not
lot.
on anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. It was actually a cute little show.
It was neat.
Yeah.
They took it off a couple years ago. That and Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Did you kids watch that one?
They did. And that was a weird one.
A little bit.
One of my friends, and he listens to the podcast, so he's going to get a kick out of this. I remember I was going out to lunch with him one day, met him at his house. He was telling me about this really bizarre dream that he had the night before where either he found a treasure. I don't know. You'll have to send us an email, Mr. P, and let us know how the dream actually went. But I thought either he found a treasure that was gold doubloons, or he was paying for something in like gold doubloons from Jake and because he has little boys and they had been watching the show, and he had a dream about either paying for something or finding like a pile of gold doubloons. And it's like that's when you know you've crossed into like deep parenthood when you're having dreams that involve your children's cartoon habits.
That's true. Yeah, but they canceled those two, but they still have them at the park because we went this past summer. They have the characters there. You can go and get your picture taken with both of them, which I was surprised.
Well, I think that a lot of stuff that's been quote unquote discontinued,
Right.
like off the Disney Channel or whatever, I think a lot of that stuff still survives in Disney World. They need other stuff for people to hold on to, I guess.
Yeah, they didn't have like some of the main movie people there, which was kind of surprising. Like there was nobody from I think Moana and Mulan. I don't think I saw anything from those.
It was probably there. You probably just didn't see it.
Thanks.
Does that do it for our princesses?
I think that's good. We have a lot of facts to check in there, but we have some news.
We do.
Would you like to share it?
You want me to share it?
Sure.
What am I sharing?
We have a fact checker now, I think.
We do have a fact checker now, and actually we need to call the fact checker in because the fact checker has some information for us regarding our previous edition, edition 8, a psychological experiment, which was a really fun one, I might add. But she had done some fact checking for us.
Oh.
And she has some fact checks that she would like to read this morning. So, we have our fact checker back in the studio. Say hi, fact checker.
Hi.
And if you don't recognize the voice, that is the Canadian.
Woo!
Woohoo! The intern. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Would you rather be called the Canadian, the intern, or the fact checker?
Canadian.
The Canadian. Okay,
Canadian.
The Canadian has some facts
Do.
from our previous edition that she would like to
Trying
clarify
to
for us.
Set you straight.
Please do. That's what we need.
Okay. Well, I didn't get to do all of it, but for the post office stuff that you talked about, they have released new forms for the leases. So they're a bit more strict on that, but you were mostly right.
I see. I'm always mostly right. I'm like the 80% solution person.
I mean, I think the longest term for the leases said 120 months. And then there's the option for renewal.
But that's what it is now.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
But I couldn't find what it was before. And then they just made it a bit more strict.
120 months. That's 10 years.
Well, you said 50.
That's still a really long time. Who
It
signed
is.
a 10-year lease?
Well, there are 3 options, but that was the only one that gave a time frame. 3 different terms that you could check. I read through the forms, actually.
Thank you very much.
I tried to be as accurate as possible.
Now talk about some riveting material.
I know.
Reading through the lease agreement forms for the post office.
It's what wakes me up at 5:30 in the morning.
Which is why you're fact checking and not me.
And then, so for London, they actually have 6 international airports.
6 airports in London.
Yes. Heathrow is the most popular by
Yes.
far.
Well, that's the largest by far.
And
as
the
well.
most popular.
Yeah.
Yes. True and true. And so that one is actually in the London borough of Hillingdon, which is in Greater London. So technically it's in London, and it's 14 miles west of central London, and it's on the Piccadilly line, which goes through central London as well.
Okay.
And then you guys were talking about London Bridge, but I think you meant Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is the one that you see that has the towers on it, and London Bridge is just like a flat concrete.
So that makes that
Bridge.
song, that we used to sing as children, London Bridge is falling down, totally worthless.
Well,
If the London Bridge is like flat, well, who cares?
Well, there are lots of bridges throughout London.
Yes, I know there's lots of bridges throughout London.
Yeah.
Considering it's not bisected, I guess. I guess technically it is by the Thames River, which is not small.
It noodles through.
It does.
It does noodle, yeah. But Tower Bridge is the one that most people think of. And it's right next to the Tower of London. Fancy that!
And you have been to the Tower of London, right?
Yeah.
And it was really cool?
Yeah.
You'll have to do that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Very historical. Highly recommend if you like history. It's also really pretty. Yeah. Yeah. And then you guys were thinking of the London Eye. You had mentioned that. But I just want to confirm that's the
It is
Ferris wheel.
the
type
Ferris
thing.
wheel, yeah.
Yes, and it's right by Parliament.
And one thing that I didn't
Big
mention,
Ben.
and one thing that I did not mention in the previous edition is that Jason mentioned Big Ben. Big Ben is actually the bell inside of the clock tower. The clock tower had no name. It was just part of the building.
They've actually renamed it
But they have now.
to
But previously...
Elizabeth Tower, right?
Really?
Yeah, they named it after the Queen for is it the Jubilee?
It had to have been, because that was not that long
but
ago.
that was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
But now it's under construction, and it's not chiming anymore for
That's
the time
sad.
being. Just for the time being.
But Big Ben is actually the bell inside of the tower. So
yeah.
that's yeah.
But that's all I
Something
got
didn't
to.
mention. Thanks, Canadian.
Welcome.
So just to step back real quick, though. So when
Yeah,
I was thinking about asking you the princesses, how many princesses could we know? So maybe it would be, as a control, we asked the Canadian what her princess list was, and she just dropped that off.
Okay.
So just remember, you had, I think, 12?
Yeah.
Is that right? And I had 10. Same movies, but I just missed 2 of the names. Her list has 11.
Okay. How many of them are actually not princesses?
Included in her list is Princess Mia from the Princess Diaries, which it's not a cartoon.
No.
And Princess Leia.
That's sacrilege to say
Yeah.
that Princess Leia is a Disney princess. We may have to find ourselves a new intern. I can't believe she said that.
So she's checking our facts, but I don't know how
accurate her fact checking is. As far as the London stuff goes, I would certainly trust her. She's been to London several times.
That makes it a reliable source.
Hey, first-hand information. We're not talking about information that she just read in some pamphlet somewhere.
I've driven through North Carolina.
That doesn't make you an expert in North Carolina.
Exactly.
Is that what you're trying to
Right.
say? I've traipsed around the woods in North Carolina a few times. I'm certainly not an expert in North Carolina. But they do have a restaurant in North Carolina. I think they have it in Virginia, too, that they don't have here in Maryland. It's not even true.
I bet it is true.
I think there is one in, like, La Plata, which is way southern Maryland. They have a Bojangles restaurant.
Yeah, there's one in...
Is it La Plata or is it...
No, it's further north than that. It's like...
It's Waldorf?
It's north of Waldorf.
Oh, my God, really? It's not in Upper Marlboro.
It's like a fast... I think it is. It's like a fast food place, right? It's like chicken.
Yeah, well, it's lots of stuff, but you don't find them in the north. They don't exist. I think it's a very southern restaurant. And there was this guy that I used to work with when I used to deploy a lot, and he was from coastal Mississippi, I think, and they had a lot of them down there, I guess. And he says, but we don't call them Bojangles. We wanted to make it sound more fancy, so they always called it Bojangles. Which always made me laugh when he said that. Went to Bojangles when I was at home.
Got that Hispanic flair.
Yeah. Because if we know there's, apparently a lot of Hispanics in coastal Mississippi. I mean, I don't think so.
Could be.
It's all right. Princesses, done.
Done.
Fact checking.
Officially done.
Done.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, did we finish the interns list?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Right, so you had another topic you tried to bring up to me the other day.
You had another topic, didn't
Let's
you?
do yours first.
You want to do mine first?
Yeah.
This is going to last I think we could do a whole show on this one.
Well, yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Well, this was the whole show. This was supposed to be.
I know. We've talked about princesses for like 20 minutes.
It just couldn't get you off of it.
Me?
It was supposed to be like 5 minutes.
Well, we also have an advantage because we have young daughters. So
For the next topic?
No, I just mean for the princess.
We were supposed to be done.
I know. Okay, we're done. No more princesses, I promise. Okay.
You just keep bringing it up.
Next topic. I know that we talked about, since it is after the new year, we talked about New Year's resolutions, which we're going to get to.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I personally believe, and I think a lot of people believe this as well, including some mainstream science, that the human race, modern humans, is actually much older than science believes it is. It seems like every year they find new archaeological evidence that suggests that humans have been in an area 50,000 years longer than previously believed. And I was specifically referencing archaeological sites that have been found in the last couple of decades. So specifically Göbekli Tepe, which is in Turkey. It's modern-day Turkey. At this point, they believe it to be at least 10,000 years old. And it was obviously a sophisticated civilization, which they didn't believe existed at that time.
What was the level of sophistication?
Well, it was a temple complex. So it has all sorts of pillars.
Just like a city, almost like a town or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And very, very complex as far as its layout. And
this is in Turkey?
This is in Turkey.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one.
Yeah. You should look it up. It's actually quite interesting because the stonework is pretty amazing for peoples they didn't believe had the technology to do what they were doing. So that site's, they're saying, from 10,000 BC. So that's more than 10,000 years old. But that brings into question, this is for me personally, I don't know about anybody else, the idea that I don't think science has it right as far as their dating of things in what we would consider prehistory. So when it comes to history, you have, at a certain time, you start having very strong evidence of things based on documents or based on tablets or something that's existed since that time. So we can actually point to something and say, hey, they wrote about this or they spoke about this at that time.
Okay.
But before that, where we have no evidence, the further we get from that time, the more generalized it becomes because we don't have a book written 10,000 years ago that says A, B, C, D, E. We have to guess based on things that we find. And I think the way that the science goes about doing it, they use markers. They say, okay, well, we know this at this time, period. And then they say, okay, well, if we know this, then we can infer this. So they make a lot of inferences. And I think a lot of those inferences are probably just plain old wrong, which is why every year it seems like we find other stuff that they have found civilization, we'll use that term loosely, in Western Australia, dating back 50,000 years. And that's way longer than they believed humans had actually occupied Western Australia. So either A, their dating is wrong,
So are they using like carbon dating, or are they doing something else?
Carbon dating, I think, is a very popular method, but a lot of it is just, like I said, they use inference. So they know that they find this object here, and they geologically dated it based on layers of soil it's been in or whatever. We know this at this point. Well, then if this is at this point, then this has to be later than that, or it has to be prior to that or whatever. Right. So they kind of use markers from a geological standpoint, from a carbon dating standpoint. So they do all this stuff, and a lot of it, I don't want to use the term voodoo. Basically kind of like voodoo.
They cause hexes on people?
Yes, they cause hexes on people. It's scientific. Certainly it's scientific, and there's no malice in, whether it's right or wrong. They're making inference, and they're making these guesses.
Well, that's what most science is.
I would agree, but there's no way when it comes to things like physics, classical physics. I don't want to get into theoretical physics, okay? I don't want to get into that. When it comes to like physics or mathematical things, or if it comes to biology, or if it comes to chemistry, these are things you can physically test in a lab, and you can reproduce results over and over and over and over again. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% every single time going to turn out that way, but evidence suggests that it will.
Okay.
So they're making inferences based on things that are way less scientific than that. They're still being scientific, follow the scientific method when they make their conclusions, but I think that the information that they have to base their scientific method on is not complete. So they have to kind of infer things, and they have to kind of guess at things. And I'm certainly not knocking geology or archaeology by any stretch of imagination. I think that they do a pretty good job considering what they have to work with, which in a lot of cases is nothing. They have almost nothing to work with, and they have to find, shards of pottery. They find this little piece of pottery, and it's glazed pottery, and now just a glazed pottery that didn't arrive as far as we know until, whatever it was, 5,000 years ago. So they have to say, okay, well, it has to be newer than that 5,000 years. Well, that may not be accurate. My suggestion is that the measure of error, the further back in time we go, the measure of error as far as accuracy, I think goes up fairly substantially. When we can point to things that are directly referenceable, documents that were written at this date at this time or something along those lines.
Right.
Even cave paintings. They keep finding these cave paintings like all over the world, specifically in Europe. They find a lot of them in Europe, and they keep finding them, and they find these cave paintings that are 200,000 years old. And then they're thinking, oh, geez, that's 100,000 years older than this other set of cave paintings that we found, but yet they're way more sophisticated than this previous set. Right. So in my mind, the things that I find really kind of staggering is that some of the greatest thinkers in human history, 2,500 years ago. I mean, think about, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato,
right?
All these people that had these philosophical ideas that were extreme mind benders. And people still today study these philosophers because the concepts that they brought to the forefront are very thought-provoking.
Right.
It takes a lot of cerebral power to understand a lot of the stuff that they were even talking about 2,500 years ago. So I would say that humans really haven't evolved much as far as our brain power, that is, in 2,500 years, if at all. So if our brains were that powerful then I think it stands to reason that 2,500 years before that, they were probably just as powerful. So if we were that smart 5,000 years ago, the thing that limited the things that we found was the technology that was available at the time. And just because we lived in caves did not mean we weren't sophisticated.
Makes sense. That's smart.
And so
you got to build on these smart people, build off of smarter people before them.
Yes.
That's where we get to today.
Yeah. So think about how smart those people were 2,500 years ago. The people before them had to have been smart for them to be able to be that smart. You don't just birth a child that thinks of all this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Because you always see, like in the shows, depictions of people from thousands of years ago, and they always depict them like a buffoon or something like that.
Yeah, they're cavemen running around in loincloths and, carrying clubs and dragging women off by their hair.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that kind of stuff didn't happen.
Right,
I mean, there's certainly evidence, even from the Romans, when the Romans were fighting in, I guess that would be like Northern Europe, so like the Germanic tribes.
Yeah.
The Romans were a very sophisticated society,
mm-hmm.
very ordered. They did things in a very particular way, and they kept very good records, which is how we know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But when they were fighting against a lot of these tribal people, they basically called them barbaric or savages. But were they? The answer is probably no. They were probably very sophisticated society, but they just didn't build giant monuments like the Romans did.
Right.
They didn't have it as organized of a society, but that doesn't make them less intelligent or less of a society. Think about the Huns. They were nomadic people, but yet they conquered, 2/3 of the known world?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing they were able to do that with a quote-unquote nomadic lifestyle.
Right.
So it's just when it comes to like the age of humanity, I find it fascinating that there's such a stark difference between what we were told when we were children. Modern humans have been around 50,000 years. So 40 years later, here we are, and now we're being told, oh no, it's actually like 200,000 years. I mean, they just found anatomically modern human remains in Israel that I think are 250,000 years old or something like that. That's kind of like their guess. But that puts anatomically modern humans, well, Homo sapiens anyway. We will call them anatomically modern because, of course, we've evolved slightly, shape of our skulls and stuff. But Homo sapiens outside of Africa, like 100,000 years before science believed they had actually been out of Africa.
Right.
So it's just very odd. Not to mention that, now it seems like every so many years they're finding more and more evidence that they believe now at one point that there was roughly 10 species of, I guess, hominids. I don't know if that's the word you would use, but bipedal, human-like creatures living on this planet at the same time. So like Neanderthals, modern humans. There's a whole race of people that are now extinct. There's those elongated skulls they find in Peru.
Oh, yeah.
They think are a completely different branch of the tree. Definitely, they know that some of the skulls they have found have been shaped, but a lot of the skulls they have found not only haven't been shaped, but there's differences, physiological differences between those skulls, some of the skulls they have found, and what would be considered like a Homo sapien skull. First of which being the brain case is actually much larger. So if you take a normal human brain and you try to like shape the brain,
right,
by like, using boards or wrapping it with bandages or whatever, the volume inside the brain case doesn't change. You just change the shape.
Yeah.
In these cases, they have actually found skulls where the brain case is much larger. I mean, I think the human brain is 1,000 cc's or something like that.
I don't know.
I think in these cases, they were finding brain cases that were like 1,400 cc's. So they have found a brain that was almost 1.5 times the size of a normal human brain. Their eye sockets were much larger. So the inference in that being their eyes were much larger.
Yeah.
And they were missing something on their skulls. And I think it's called the sagittal sutures, where your brain, when we were all born, we had that soft spot in the middle part of our head.
Right.
It's basically 3 plates that come together
right
there, and they finally grow together and the soft spot goes away. There's a plate boundary, goes from like the middle of your head down the back of your skull.
Yeah.
And I think it's called the sagittal suture. And these skulls, they don't have it.
Oh.
Which is really bizarre. And that's the only, as far as they know at this point, that's the only species they've found that doesn't have that. Just knowing all of this, that we had advanced societal civilization from different species of hominids, we don't have a handle on it. We don't have a handle on our past yet. And the sad part is, further we get away from that, the more generalized it becomes. So I think we'll find out more information, but I don't think we'll ever really know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that there's only one path where people started it to where we got today. Because if you look at the way scientists make their discoveries now, there's usually one person gets a lot of credit for, hey, I made this amazing discovery, but there's usually at least another or 2 people following right behind him, working independently, that didn't know about the first guy, that are close to making the same discovery. So,
I mean, Alexander Graham Bell, prime example. He's credited with the invention of the telephone, and he actually didn't even invent the telephone. Yeah. He received the first patent for the telephone in the United States, and therefore, hey, he must have done it. It was him, but it's totally not true. I think it was Marconi. Was it Marconi?
He made the first wireless transmission. That's under some debate, too.
But either way, so you have like the popular scientists. I mean, how many inventions was Thomas Edison credited with that he probably didn't even make? Like, I think he's credited with a light bulb, right?
I think so. But he had a team. It wasn't just him.
And on his team, the trump card of all trump cards, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
Who actually left Edison's workshop because he and Edison disagreed on so many things.
Right.
And that's just, staggering. here's this powerhouse. We'll call him a brain powerhouse of Thomas Edison. And like I said, whether he invented all this stuff or not, who knows? And working in his shop underneath him was Nikola Tesla, who's arguably one of the smartest human beings to have lived in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing, is that differing human intelligence. We all know people that are really, really good at math, but can't remember who fought in World War II.
Right. Yeah.
And we all know people who are super, super good at history, but couldn't do algebra to save their lives.
Yeah.
Now,
Good at art, but they can't.
Yeah.
do
And,
the other
and
stuff.
there are people who have arty brains that are, really good musicians, or they're really good painters, or they're really good this. But like from a practical life standpoint, they may not have a very good street acumen.
Yeah.
Social cues might wave them bye-bye, all this other kind of stuff. So the differences between intelligences, I just find it amazing.
It is interesting.
Yeah. So I don't want to beat that topic to death because we've been on it now for a little bit, but
It's interesting, though. I have to look into it a little more.
yeah, we can talk about it again some other time. To me, it's just, I don't have a problem talking about religion. I don't want to get into a religious debate, certainly. Hear about all these stories in the Bible, and now they're able to, from a scientific standpoint, now they're pointing to things that, hey, you know what? We think this actually happened. Like to talk about Noah's flood, for instance.
Right.
We think this actually happened now. Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you think it actually happened, but a lot of that stuff that's in there, I think, is anecdotal evidence for stuff that actually happened that we have no real evidence of actually happening. It's stories that people were told. But why would civilizations that developed in completely different parts of the world have similar stories?
That's true.
The flood myth is a really popular one.
Right.
You find South American cultures, the Mayans and the Incas, they had flood mythology just like Christians do.
Oh.
Well, if the Bible says happened this many years ago, and who knows, maybe it was a guess at the time. Maybe they just wrote the story knowing that it happened, just didn't know when. Maybe they had no reference point for it. They just assigned a point. But they know that this stuff happened. Well, did it happen in one place and then the story disseminated from there to all of the cultures of the world? And how long would that have taken in a time when there's no telephones or boats or airplanes or anything, and you had to walk that information everywhere? Or did that happen everywhere? And then now all of these cultures at a similar time have similar stories.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 5 cents on that one. So on to a lighter topic of New Year's resolutions. Do you make New Year's resolutions, Jason?
Yeah, kind of.
You do?
Yeah.
That kind of surprises me.
Really?
Yeah, you don't seem like a resolution kind of person.
No, I do.
What kind of resolutions do you make typically?
Well, so there's different kinds of resolutions.
Yes.
There's the kind where you think I'm going to pick one or two things that you're going to work on throughout the year. But there's also this growing trend to a theme for the year, where you pick a theme and you're going to work on that theme. Have you heard of that?
Not really.
No?
No, I don't know anybody that does that at all.
Say you think your life is too busy and you're going to make a year of simplification. So you find different ways of simplifying your life with maybe doing less things or getting rid of some things or reducing your daily tasks every day. So it's not I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 months. It's I'm going to make my life simpler over the year.
That's a totally reasonable choice.
Yeah.
But why do you have to wait till January 1st to do that?
It's just a good time to start. So a lot of people just really dislike New Year's resolutions. They just hate them.
I don't hate New Year's resolutions, but I dislike them.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you dislike them so much?
I dislike them because for me personally, I don't have to have a specific time. Say my resolution was to be healthier, be more fit in 2019.
Right.
And I thought, I'm thinking of this in December.
Yeah.
Why would I wait till January 1st to do that? I wouldn't. If I had the conscious thought that I need to live a better lifestyle as far as my health level goes, I should do that immediately. I shouldn't wait till the 1st to make that resolution. I go to the gym regularly, 3-4 times a week. I have a term for people that make fitness resolutions.
Oh, no.
And it's not a bad term. It's not horrible.
Yeah.
I call them resolutionaries.
Okay.
I've been going to gyms since I was 16 years old, working out regularly since I was 16 years old.
Right.
I did it at my high school for a while, so that doesn't really count, I guess. But the funniest thing is the first week of January, every year, your gym, wherever it is going to be a madhouse.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have so many people that, I want to get healthy, I want to get fit for the year, and then they decide, I'm going to go join the gym. And so they go and join the gym on January 2nd, right?
Right.
Those people last March.
Yeah.
Here it's March because the weather starts getting nice in April.
Yeah.
Up north, it was more like May. They would last until like May because
Okay.
that's when the weather starts getting much better, right? So as soon as the weather starts getting good, people get out of the habit of going to the gym, and then they just don't go back.
Yeah.
The most empty a gym will ever be is always in like July.
Well, that makes sense.
People just do their resolutions, and members who have been members for a long time,
Right.
like myself, every year it's the same thing. I see the same thing come and go every year. And you have a few people who start coming in January, and then they stick with it. And then you see them, like I've seen people in my gym that started as resolutionaries, and they're still there, several years later. Good for them. But if you have this thought, you want to do this, stick with it. That's one of the things that bothers me the most about resolutions, is that people just don't, they make these resolutions. I'm going to do this in the year, or I'm going to make my life more simple. I'm going to be healthier. I'm going to become a vegan. I'm going to learn classical physics. I'm going to do all these things. And they just don't stick with it. And I think it's because of the culture, American culture at least, is we're instant gratification people. So when we don't see instant results from something, we tend to think that I can't do it. I'm just going to give up. So they give up. I was like, do you think you're going to learn physics in a year? No. It's going to take you a while. So you might want to keep that resolution for a few years. But it's the same thing with exercise. These people might get a little healthier by the time the end of March or April comes around. And they think to themselves, well, now I can have 2 donuts on Donut Wednesday in my office. I can eat 2 donuts. It's fine. And then, that afternoon, like, I'm not feeling so good because of those 2 donuts I ate. No, I'm just not going to go to the gym today. And then all of a sudden they're out of the habit of going to the gym. You know what I mean? So that's my 2 cents.
I have different perspective. So I like the resolutions at the beginning of the year. It's great if you come to that enlightenment in the middle of the year. It's like, I need to exercise. And you start in December. It's great that you can do that. But a lot of people, it's busy throughout the year. So like, especially December, it's Christmas time. Celebrate all through December for Christmas. November is Thanksgiving.
Is there ever a time in your year that you're not busy?
January. Well,
what?
January. It's kind of not busy.
No.
That's the time I use to spend to think about my resolutions. Well, actually, I started like in November and December. And then January comes and it's time to put it into gear. What are you laughing about?
It's just funny that you start thinking about your resolutions in November, but don't do anything actively to...
Well, you got to think about your plan. Think of how you're going to enact it. And then January comes and you start practicing it.
No, you got to fly by the seat of your pants.
No.
This is how these things work.
They don't. That's why these people fail all the time. You got to put the thought into just what's my goal going to be for the year, and especially January. It's the best time to start exercising because you just got through Christmas. You just ate all those cookies. You just put on 15 pounds. You start exercising. It's going to be hard.
Who puts on 15 pounds over Christmas?
Anyways,
that's some serious
it's not
eating.
that much.
15 pounds?
Let's say 10 pounds. Between November and starting with Thanksgiving?
I'm 235 pounds, Jason.
Yeah?
Okay. If I put on 15 pounds
right,
for somebody of my size, that's a lot. I'm a big dude, right?
10 pounds isn't that much.
That's pretty substantial.
It's not that much.
If you only weigh 160 pounds and you're putting on a 16th of your body weight,
yeah, it's not that much.
In a month, that's extremely unhealthy. That's really bad.
Anyways, going on. So you put on some weight. When January comes, you want to get some of that off. So you start exercising. You may only make it till March, but maybe you'll work off those 10 pounds. Maybe you don't get the 20 that you were hoping for. And then by the time March comes or whatever, then it's summer. Nobody's going to go to the gym. It's nice outside. So I'll exercise inside in the winter, but when summer comes, I just do stuff outside, yard work or whatever. And that's my exercise.
Well, I still do the outside stuff.
Yeah, but this might be
I still go to the gym.
Big reason why you don't see people in the gym. But then when fall comes and you don't see them come back, well, then they just fell out of habit. So that's why January's back. You start over. Nice fresh start.
The resolutionaries are in full force, man.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
Find something and you work on it. Maybe you might not work on it the whole year. You might get through half a year and say, this isn't working for me. So maybe you'll say, hey, I'm going to start running every day. So I go to the gym and run on the treadmill. And by March, I just hate treadmills. They just shake all the time. I don't feel stable. Hate looking at the TV that the guy next to me put on, watching news program I don't follow.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah. So then maybe next January comes, so I'm going to start rowing. So you go to a different place and you do the row machine.
I guess that's true, but I think that would be...
Plus, when everybody starts in January, if you don't make it, you don't feel so bad because a lot of people fail. So it gives you a chance to, you don't feel so bad about yourself. Maybe I didn't lose all 20 pounds, but I got to the 5 or the 10.
I actually have a weight loss goal.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
But I've had the same weight loss goal for 5 years.
Yeah, see, you're a failure by your terms.
Oh,
You just
absolutely.
give up.
Well, the thing is, I won't give up. It would be difficult for me to make this weight.
Yeah.
I want to get down to 215. I'll never make it. I'll never make it there.
So that's a goal.
Well, in order for me to make it there, I'd have to stop lifting weights.
Well,
That's really the problem, is that I can't stop doing that. I've told myself I will lift heavy until I'm 50. Once I hit 50, then I'm going to start taking it easy on myself. I got to survive into retirement. You know what I mean? So I do have a weight loss goal. And it was really sad. One of the times I was deployed overseas, I worked really hard to try to get to that weight.
Yeah.
And I think I started at 240. I was running every single day. So every day I was running at least a 5K. Every other day I was running a 10K. For the days that I ran my 5K, I would do a normal weight workout. So I was doing weights 3 or 4 days a week, depending on, because it was every other day. And I exercised constantly. I was eating very little.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating very little. I was eating less than the amount of food that I would normally eat. And I couldn't get below 217 pounds. And I looked bad. When I got home, my wife, the first thing she says to me when I get off this plane, so there's my wife and my kids waiting for me at the airport. And she gives me a hug and she gives me a kiss, and I'm hugging the girls, and the girls are crying. And my wife says to me, "You look terrible. Have you not been eating?" And the answer was no. I really hadn't been eating nearly as much. I looked emaciated. I looked terrible.
Are you sure? Maybe you just look different.
I'm pretty sure. I knew I looked terrible. My clothes.
With your eyes falling out of their sockets? Did you look
No, but I just looked gaunt.
You see your bones and stuff? Do you look like those
runway
models?
I'm way too big for that. I wasn't a runway model, no.
Maybe it would have just taken time to just move back around. Fill in the empty spots.
Not a big fan of New Year's resolutions, I guess is what it really comes down to. If you want to better yourself, no time like the present. Just start. Whatever it is hits you, start right then.
Well, how do you know that's not a bad idea? You got to think about it. So do you constantly think of what goal should I set for myself this week so that way I don't wait till the next time?
I wouldn't say that I do that, but...
You just wait till the moment just jumps into your brain, whatever pulls out of the file cabinet?
Yeah, whatever falls out of the pile. Yeah, I should totally do that. Yeah.
Some people they open up their file cabinet and they just look through it over the last year. Like, this was good. Maybe I'll try some more of that this year.
I wouldn't say constant improvement. That's a horrible thing to say. It's constant change. There's always stuff in your life that comes up and you're like, well, I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to totally start doing that again.
Most people do that.
That's what I mean.
I'm going to touch the stove. I'm not going to touch that anymore.
But that's my point.
I'm not making a goal of not touching the stove anymore. That's just silly.
I will not touch a hot stove this year. New Year's resolution. You gotta set the bar low for yourself.
You have posts that you got to go through.
So what was your resolution for this year, can I ask?
It's hard to explain. I'm still working on it a little bit. It's still January. January is my planning month.
Huh.
Still putting the plan into action. Trying to get some other special projects going.
Well,
spend some time on that.
That stuff you do a lot, so I wouldn't call that a resolution necessarly, because you always
I'm changing the way that
fire.
I've done it before, but now I'm putting some thought into different ways of attacking them, and then
well, I guess that makes sense.
Make sure I balance it out. Do you do any time tracking? I have a feeling that's going to be a no.
Time tracking of what?
You track. That's kind of it's kind of in the term itself. You track your time that you do stuff.
No.
Heck,
what, are you kidding? No.
That's supposed to be a really good thing to do. So I'm trying to do that this year. And then balance out my time amongst the different tasks.
You already do that.
No, time it using a timer.
But don't you already do that?
No.
I mean...
Not really.
Your day is broken down into 15-minute increments.
See, I've changed that last year. I used to do that.
Now, what is it, 10 minutes?
No, I've just abandoned the whole increment. It's more open. It's too restrictive before. I couldn't get enough stuff done.
Well, I know you have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of irons in your fire, so...
Yeah, so I'm trying to find more irons and then make sure they all get done. So I'm trying to add more irons to the fire this year.
Don't you think you ought to finish with a couple of the ones you already have?
They're not, that's the thing. I'm not going to finish them. They're just going to turn into ongoing. So instead of having a goal to just try and get it to a certain point, it's just going to slowly progress, like walking up a mountain.
It's probably what Elon Musk did. So what you're saying is in a decade, you're going to be a billionaire.
Most of my things aren't going to make any money. We'll see, though.
Well, not with that attitude.
That'll be next year's goal. How do I make money off of these endeavors? So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, so I have some small goals that I'm working on, and then along the way to accomplish the big goals.
Don't you have small goals usually all the time? You always got goals for stuff.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Really? You're always carrying around your little notebook, and it's always got stuff you've written in there. And
there's a lot of stuff in there.
I know. Things that you're just interested in or interested in looking into, and you do. You do look into things. It doesn't mean it goes anywhere, but...
I got to get it out of my head or else it just gets too full in there.
Again, back to the brain thing. See, the stuff just gets thrown in the pile, and it can be forgotten to time.
See, I was trying to think about how my brain works. You have such a well-developed plan over there.
A well-developed plan for a very disorganized system.
Yeah. So the way mine is, it's just, I have like a starting point. It's like a map, and then I just have to write directions on how to get to all the different. So like I'll have 100 file cabinets, but on the front of one is, if you want this, you've got to go to file cabinet 5C, drawer 2, and then slot 6. And then I go there and it says, well, if you want more information on this topic, you've got to go to this. So that's what my notebook is. It's all these pathways, maps. And
I was really irritated the other day. This is kind of funny that you say this. I was reading, I guess I do have, it's not a resolution necessarily.
Yeah.
But I'm actively trying to read a Bible chapter a day.
Yeah.
Our church is a chapter a day the rest of your life. It's kind of one of their mottos. So I've kind of tried to start doing that. It wasn't necessarily a resolution. It's something that I've been wanting to do anyway.
When did you start it?
I actually did start it on January 1st.
Yeah, see, it's a great time.
But there was a reason for that, because our church actually handed out to us these journals, specifically for that reason. But if they'd handed me the journal on September 1st, I would have started September 1st. It had nothing to do with me. It wasn't a resolution. It's something I've wanted to do anyway. So I was reading my Bible, and it is like a study Bible, so it has the notes at the bottom. Yeah. So I was reading through it. It was one of the chapters in Luke. It has a reference, it has the symbol. Okay, got to look at the symbol for a verse, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it says, see reference for Mark, whatever. And it's like, What? You can't even put it down twice? I got to go to a different book to read the reference?
Yep.
I was very frustrated by that.
Oh. That's how my notes are.
I know.
Why write it twice? That's just wasting paper.
You being an engineer doesn't surprise me that you do that.
It's got to be efficient.
My brother writes technical manuals for stuff, I think. Yeah, at his work, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, because that's a very procedural thing. So I guess that's a type of intelligence, a procedural intelligence. You have to do A, B, C, D, E, F. You can't do A, D, B, F.
Right. Because someone's going to read Mark, then they're going to read Luke, and they're going to read the notes. It's like, well, this one has notes, and this one has notes, so they must be different. So then you got to read the notes over here, then you got to read the notes over there, and you could just read the one, and it'll just tell you it's the same as this one.
Okay.
I mean, it's right there. You just got to flip through it. That's why you got to have bookmarks and ribbons and all that good stuff in there.
Yeah, and it's a study Bible, right?
Yeah.
It only has one. What do they call those things? A little
bookmark.
But they call them something like it's the little ribbon.
Ribbon. Yeah, you can make your own and slide in there.
I could, but that's too much work.
It's not that hard. I've done it.
So my Bible only has one. So it's how am I supposed to mark several things if I only have one mark?
Yeah.
I guess all Bibles only have one mark.
Is it?
Come on, man. That's a play on words. Mark, second book of the New Testament.
I thought there might have been more than one.
No.
It's a common name.
There's only one.
Sure? There's none in the Old Testament?
No, I just mean the book of the Bible. There's only one book named Mark.
Never mind.
There's not Mark 1 and 2.
No.
I'm sorry, you're Mark 1. You're Mark 2.
Well, they call them lesser and greater. Anyways.
Okay.
So, New Year's resolutions. I think January's a good time, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, because it's cold. You're not going outside. Gives you time to sit inside, think, come up with your plan.
You're not going outside if you're a sissy. We were forced outside.
Some of us don't like the cold.
I love the cold. Being from the north, of course, I love the cold.
Yeah, I don't like the cold. So it gives me time to sit inside, think of my plans.
Skiing, snow fort building, snowball fights.
I watch from the window.
How do you watch skiing from your window?
Kids in the backyard.
Yeah, you could ski in your backyard.
On the slide.
Right. So you're a fan of resolutions.
Yeah. I
I'm
think they're
not
great.
a fan of resolutions.
Yeah. Despite having one this year.
I don't have one. I don't have a resolution this year.
All right.
I refuse.
That's too bad. So do you ever think about through the year, like, hey, this part of the year was going well, should continue this, or I really got to change this? Or is it just like, oh, something's new?
No. I often think about, how things are going.
You should try it in January. See what happens. See what you come up with.
Try what?
Just think of what you would make for a resolution for the year and how you can. Plus, if you do it in January, then you can lay out like little bite-sized steps.
I can do that.
To get to the end.
I can do that in August.
Yeah? Do you do it in August?
I do it all year.
No, it's not the same thing. Never mind.
Well, that'll do it for another riveting edition of Conversational Chaos. We'd like to thank all of our listeners who contributed to our fact-checking, contributed to our movie list. Thank you, Beth F. And we do want to remind our listeners that we do have a email, conversationalchaos@gmail.com. We do have a subreddit, Conversational Chaos. We do have Instagram, Twitter. Please reach out to us if you'd like us to talk about any particular topics, or if you want to fact check us as well with our 80% solutions. So I think that'll do it for the day. Jason, you have anything?
Just say thanks to the listeners we have in Ireland.
Oh, and Sweden.
Sweden. We've got a couple from there that listen regularly.
Yeah.
And to the people in Oregon that started listening this last couple episodes.
And if you do, if you're outside of the United States, or even anywhere, really, anywhere inside the United States that's not the Mid-Atlantic where we live, send us an email. Send us your address. We might send you something fun in the mail.
Maybe some business cards or some other.
Find some tchotchke
to
send you. But thank you for listening, and look forward to doing this again.
Bye.